Star Wars only, I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
If you remember back in 2015, Spiro made a very popular toy called BB-8, and you could control this BB-8 unit with your iPhone app, and it was really cool. A lot of people bought this at the time. It sold like millions and millions of units, and that's because Star Wars The Force Awakens is coming out, BB-8 looked really cool, and everybody wanted to get him as a toy. And this was a huge hit. And so Spiro is a company that made this, and they weren't very well known before this toy came out, and then they made this gadget, and everybody loved it, and so now this was the thing for them. Sadly, though, they're not making the BB-8 anymore. They're no longer doing it, and they're not doing any Star Wars licensed products either. They actually did an R2-D2 toy for a while, but they're also putting that out of the line, and they're marketing it as legacy products. So now if you go to the website and you try to buy this product, this BB-8 or the R2-D2 unit, it says, this is a legacy product and no longer in production. They're not making this anymore. And the reason being is they had a lot of layoffs last year. That's because the sales weren't doing so well, and the sales that they had for the BB-8 unit slowly died out. You know, you look at 2015, Star Wars was a huge hit. You know, it was back. As time went on, though, you know, people kind of didn't really care about BB-8 anymore. I mean, it's whatever. It's 3 years now. Who cares anymore? And so the CEO of the company of Spiro, he says, when you launch a toy, your first year is your biggest. Your second year is way smaller, and your third year gets really tiny. Now, I'm not sure how true that is, but it most likely is true. He's the CEO of a company. I am not. So he has the numbers. And honestly, it sucks because they really made a big hit with this Spiro toy, this BB-8 unit guy. And I didn't buy it because I don't really feel comfortable spending $100 on a little ball that rolls around on my floor. But still, a lot of people loved it and a lot of people really liked it. And so the app is no longer going to be, you know, working. And so the company is no longer going to make this. But the app is still going to be able to be used for another 2 years, I think. So if you have the app and you have the BB-8 unit, in 2020, you're not going to be able to use it anymore. So I mean, 2 more years. I mean, if you're still playing with this thing 5 years after it's come out, then yeah, you might need to stop. So this does suck. It's nothing that, you know, Disney did personally. It's just what happens. You know, companies sometimes don't run things right, and they said it was too much too fast, which is kind of a blessing and a curse, I guess. If you're working with Disney, they made a lot of money from this product. However, they just couldn't produce it as often as they wanted to, I guess, or it's just, you know, people kind of lose interest. You got to keep innovating. You can't just make one thing and then be like, oh, that's it. So I'm really sad that they're not making these anymore. I wish they would continue to make Star Wars licensed products, but if this was all they had, I'm okay with the one-hit wonder. But I just think it's kind of cool to look back and take a trip down memory lane looking at the popular product of the 2015 year and what was going on during that time. I mean, it's only been 3 years, but, you know, 2018 is about to be over, so it's going to be 4 years since 2015. And honestly, it was a really good year for Star Wars fans. It's probably one of the best years we've had in a long time, and it's really cool looking back at something like the BB-8 unit and being like, hey, you know what? I remember that. You know, in 30, 40 years, we are going to look back at that and say, hey, that was a huge thing. Kind of like the people who grew up the original trilogy. They look back at the empty boxes that you would buy, and they would ship you Star Wars toys. They look back at that. People like me who grew up with the prequels, we look back at, you know, the toys that came out with the Star Wars prequels. You know, we had a lot more lightsabers that came out then and everything. So they're just toys that each generation has. I mean, that's a big thing of Americans. We all love toys, or, you know, at least Star Wars fans do, not really just Americans. Star Wars fans are huge toy people, so it's just something we're going to be able to look back at and say, you know what, I remember that, and that was a pretty good time. So tell me your thoughts below, though. Are you going to buy this BB-8 toy? Or are you going to try to find someone on eBay to sell it to you? Or are you going to use the app still? I don't know. Did you ever buy it? Did you not? Do you miss it? Are you going to miss it? Comment your thoughts below. I'm Star Wars Only. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.